London, London, London. It's very expensive here. But you know, the only reason I'm able to come through this way is because I have an electric van and there's no congestion charge. I only have to pay £10 registration fee every year. And you know, I can drive through the centre of London town. That taxi ahead is also electric, or at least I think it's a hybrid. Going through Piccadilly Circus.
An electric van for city centre van life, I think it's the way forward. Living in central London with an electric van, you can park up anywhere, there's no congestion charge, it's quiet, it's better for the environment. And also the whole battery, I can use it for heating and that kind of thing. In theory, while the van's still charging, I can also park here. I think from, is it 11 o'clock, midnight, it doesn't charge you. So I could stay here all the way until the morning before I get charged again. Take it out, close it up, and then this says thanks, your charge has ended. You can take your cable out. They do charge me to fill up, well, the battery, but I reckon this works out alright, especially given that my house is now wherever. Foxy, foxy. Found a cool spot to park for the night. People aren't really looking out. Other one. It's permit holders, but only from like 9 till 5. So I've got time in the morning to kind of get out of here. Foxy. Bye, Foxy. So here I am in the back. Feels quite safe in a thunderstorm. Inverter's on. Plug is on. Doesn't sound like it's on, does it? Oh, wait a minute. Turn the switch on. It's quite a moment. I was parked on quite a hill last night. Didn't really notice. My blanket fell off. Let's imagine I was just parking up for the night. I want to open my side door. There's people walking past. First thing they see is this. You know, this is quite like van lifey, right? So what I wanted to do was just like make a little curtain just so that I don't have to wait for exactly the right moment to go in and out. Imagine it's like if I open this up, it's suddenly going to be like, yeah, builder's van, you know? Because I'm not spending money on rent day in, day out, when I do want to go and like just escape somewhere, I can just choose to go where I want. I've got a little moment of calm. I thought it was important to just spend a little bit of time reorganizing the space. So currently got the bed this way round, a long way. I've got a bit of room here, but actually I've been finding that it is like quite tight. So yeah, part of the joy with this setup is that I can change it. I can keep changing it again and again. Some little cupboard doors for the boxes. These have been routed out with hinge holes. It's going to give the option for them to be like on the top or on its side. Multifunction. Basically, all of the stuff is built out of U-Build. Building these sort of boxes for everyone else, I was like, I want to have this in my own life, and I couldn't afford to build a whole house, but I could definitely afford to fill my van with some, you know?
This is your home.
It didn't used to be my home. I started living in here. Part of the reason was I was paying rent on this warehouse unit. I was living in a warehouse which had been divided by somebody else, and I was paying like £800 a month. So I was paying all this money. I had the van and I was using it for work. I say I know what goes where, but occasionally this thing needs to be full of boxes, but for the rest of the time it's just sitting there. So I thought, well, wouldn't it be cool if I could just go to these remote sites, stay in the van, and I could just be where I needed to be. So this is the base of the bed. You can see that I've bolted everything together.
these little furniture connector bolts, so everything's solid. And then these little drawers. The benefit is that everything's modular and movable, so if I decide that actually I want to change my mind, I want to move it around, I can do that. Hey, so here's the full double bed setup. All of my stuff is still under there, so I can still get it by just sort of pulling out drawers. And this is going to be my office for this morning. Pretty cool. This is looking pretty cool here.
So gorgeous. I just thought, I mean, that's one of the beauties of this van. You can just go sleep where you want to, where it's beautiful, right?
I mean, yes and no. Like I should say yes, you can. In reality, if you go to beautiful places, like the council's worked out that people like staying there, they've put up a no overnight parking sign. One of the things I read on van life blogs is that, you know, you don't have to kind of be in the same place during the day and the night. Oh, so this is already gone down, but so this bit hasn't been completely finished. It's sort of complete, but it will never be complete because it's like a big jigsaw puzzle that I rearranged to suit my needs. So this summer I had to build out 2 festivals. So these bits that you see here, they were actually arranged along there as like a single bed, and I just had like a little roll mat and a sleeping bag on there. And so I had a really small bed.
So you can see this is basic at the moment, but there are 2 boards on top. Effectively, when you pull these out, those boards can come down, because this is all structural, and then it can turn into a double. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. It's quite basic, but it means that I can take it in, I can take it out, it can be a van. So I've loaded all the stuff in the van. These are all the bits that are going to make up the stage. It can be a camper van. It's easy.
That was great for festival builds, but I needed more space. So I decided to install these boxes here. So these are standard size of U-Build modules. So these are 600 by 300 by 300. So it's like a double cube. You can see that these are like the normal like handles that we would just have, but I've just turned the box on its side. And then we've used these, which are like normal kitchen cabinet hinges, and just put like a door on the front. So this is a kitchen unit. I'm so happy about the sink. In doing all of the kind of research for the build, I've been looking for things which fit in with the U-Build module.
I found a sink which is exactly the right width. It's like 300 mil. So what I'm going to do, I had a box which had a hole drilled in the bottom of it, and then I've got another box underneath. They're big tanks, and they're quite pleasingly, they fit like in, they're sort of 250 wide. If you look down the plug hole, you can see we're there and we need to go to there. Now usually there would be like a U-bend. I did wonder whether I could just use that pipe as the overflow, so the U-bend.
So this sink here, I love it. It's called the studio sink, and I think it's designed for micro apartments. And basically the whole thing just fits perfectly in one of the U-Build modules. So you see the plumbing. I mean, I've done this and I don't know whether it's like legit or not, but it's got like, this is a bath trap because it's like lower profile, and it still sort of pokes through into the one below. So it doesn't perfectly fit in a single box. However, my idea was that these 3 units here are like, this is like a sink unit. So because it's U-Build, everything's got a U, like it's U something. So I was thinking this unit could be called like U scrub, or like, so these again, like we didn't make these, but I found stuff which fits. So like this is going to be the fresh water. This one's already the wastewater. So the wastewater's already plumbed in. It's finished, it's not finished. This doesn't have the connection in, but when it does, this usually goes on the side of someone's tap, you know, so usually someone's got like a main tap and then like a little pressure washer, but this is going to be my main one, and it's going to come up from the freshwater tank. It's going to like feed up through there, and then I'm going to have it coming out so that I can pull the whole thing out. Probably in time I'm also going to put like a worktop over all of this so that the whole thing can just be flush, or maybe make some more of these hinges here so that like maybe make another hinge so that the worktop could flap up, you know? I've got things for like washing vegetables, or like if I need to rinse something. These are the only things in the van which aren't currently like strapped down. So in the kind of next version, there's going to be like a lid which kind of holds these all down. There's some missing pieces. And so there's going to be like a leisure battery, which is going to go in these two here. When connecting a lithium battery, this is connected to the vehicle and it's therefore pre-charging this. Take the ratchet out. I'm using the kind of the load strap principles. There you go. So there's a strap which goes all the way through the boxes. This is just a standard ratchet strap, and that's a load ring designed by the manufacturer of the van to strap things down. I can disconnect this, now the whole thing moves, right? So I can basically say, right, today this is not my house, today this is my work van, and all of that could go somewhere else. And this is really important because I haven't put insulation in the walls yet, so I need to get at the walls, but I just didn't have time. I think it's much better to have an approach where you don't have to do everything all at once. Like you can start living in it, you can test it out. So this is like, I think this is a fairly classic van build layout. I've tried lots of them, but in the end, the kind of bed at the back, trunk or garage bit, see you got these ratchet straps here. And so that's because all of the stuff is built out of U-build. And so nothing's fixed into the van permanently. And so the ratchet straps, they don't just go over the U-build, they actually go over my mattress and everything because, you know, I don't want this to come and crash into me.
Because you don't have anything nailed down or glued or...
I'm using the sort of cellular nature of the boxes, which is really strong, which bolt together. And then also like ratchet strapping everything down to the pre-built load strap. The van is designed to take these loads. I'm basically using the same principles as to like when it was a work van, but just adapting it to van life, you know? And because everything in the van is set out in a kind of modular way as well, like I can fit U-build boxes in the van and I know that they're going to be the same height as my bed because it's all made out of the same stuff. So if you've got a work-life business, you might as well just make all parts of it, you know, out of the same thing.
Now you have 3 stacked.
Yeah.
And that's like this probably the standard size for a sink, a counter.
Right.
If you put one more, maybe it's a standing desk.
Yeah, if I take out one of my drawers, I mean these have currently got my t-shirts in them, but like you say, you know, you could put that up here. It's the same proportion, or you could put it on top of the sink, and if this one had a lid, then I could be working like that. I have to say I've stolen this from Marie Kondo. So this is like Marie Kondo way of folding. This is also how to fold a t-shirt in a van when you don't have a work surface. I've done a terrible job. But yeah, but then it goes in like that and it's more like a book. So all of the t-shirts fit in like that, but then I've got other ones. I don't think this one's probably quite as neat, but you know, like, so the deeper boxes, these are like my shirts and my trousers and stuff. So again, they all fit in like that. Before I had the van, I'd already started doing this. I mean, you can see like by the color, like these are much older boxes. You know,
you were already using the boxes in your own home?
Yeah. I decided I wanted U-build to be part of my personal life because I knew I was moving house all the time. And so I just have these cubes with my stuff in them. So then moving to the van was quite easy because I already had everything in cubes. I just needed to put the cubes in a different configuration. You know, so this is my moving crate, you know, I don't need to put stuff in boxes because it already is.
And the boxes look sturdy enough, so you don't need, for example, in order to maintain their structural strength, you don't actually need any wheels or something.
This is a slightly different arrangement here. So for these ones, I've literally just bolted the boxes together and put doors on them. Yeah. But for this one, I wanted them to be drawers. And so like we've got the, you know, the sacred module size, and I've gone off module here. So I've made something which is bigger than a U-build module so that U-build modules can go into it. So
Slide because they just are flat.
they slide because everything's made on a CNC machine and it's all like, you know, so we've given it a little bit of tolerance. And I've stolen this from aeroplanes, you know, like where your food gets delivered in those things so that it doesn't come out and kill all the passengers. But like this is like the eco version of an airplane. That goes back in. But also, as you say, they're strong. Like I can stand on that, even though that's only halfway in. I can stand on it, and I'm thinking I might put like a little panel in here so that it can become like a little step up to the bed, you know. But also, what I do is when I'm going to bed, quite often you need somewhere to put. If you've got your phone or something charging, you don't want it in bed, so you just sort of put it there, you know, or like a little bottle of water or something. So that's kind of nice. It means that you don't just sort of drop everything onto the floor. Bedside table. So yeah, like with a little panel in there, could do that.
So this way you have them secure for traveling.
Exactly. So this is the one. So the first one you saw at the back, that goes over the mattress, and that just holds this down. Because I thought, you know, even though a mattress is soft, it's heavy. I don't want that coming and flying and hitting me. But this one is wrapping over these units here. So these units are bolted together, and then they're ratcheted down to the floor so that they don't slide in transit. But I leave it like this, and I think you can see what it is, and so I just leave it there. There's no point in hiding it. People make things too efficient. They save space in like the wrong way. It forces you to be like, okay, this bookcase is only ever going to be a bookcase because it's been designed as a bookcase. Whereas if you design something as a building block, then it can be anything. Because a drawer is not designed to be structural. There you go. Whereas this, if I turn it upside down, all of my stuff will fall out. But after that, then it's a step. I can even stand in them. I was brought up as a kid on Lego. You know, I used to spend hours and hours just sitting there with these tiny little bricks. And now I've realized that basically I'm just doing exactly the same thing again. I haven't grown up. Really, the only thing that I needed to do to turn this into a van that I could live in was take out this metal bulkhead here, because basically what I wanted to be able to do was lock the van from the inside, and you can only do that from down there. And so if you lock it and then come out and then go in here, you're trapped, so you can't lock it. And so I had to remove this so the van thinks that I'm still in driving mode. It doesn't know that I've gone through into the back. So this is one of those classic cases of technology's got so good that you now need to trick it. I've replaced myself with this water container because I couldn't keep the van fan running, because as soon as I got out of the driver's seat, it thought I was in park mode and it switched the engine off. But if you put the van in drive mode and then press the manual park override button, then it engages park mode, but it's still in drive mode. And because there's a pressure sensor in the seat, that means as soon as I get up, it switches it off, see? And then after 15 minutes, that will switch off. So this simple act of replacing myself by not even a full container of water, I mean, in a way that's quite sad. Turns out that I'm worth less than sort of 20 litres of water in a slightly manky old tank. This is a work in progress. This is called Yupu. It's not been built yet, but it's got, yeah, like for emergencies, there'll be a little bucket which goes in here.
Emergency stuff, I get it.
Right. The thing is, for most of the time, I don't actually, well, you can see I've never used this in the month, and that's because I'm always parking by somewhere where I can use the loo early in the morning. Oh.
Gym today. 1 token. I mean, it is completely empty.
I've bought like a really nice gym membership.
It's really cool actually, the way the showers just have the push button.
But they've got gyms all the way around London and swimming pools, and I've got the hammock. This is the least amount of effort for the most amount of gain. And again, I just use one of the Ratchet straps. I haven't had to do any modification to the van. I just fed it through here. There was already this thing. It can disconnect, and I can store it away so that it's not flapping around all the time. So I just stuff it in one of those. But then I can...
You use it much?
Yeah, well, I'll demonstrate it right now. I can get on from one of these sort of box seats, and then when you've got like a beautiful view, like either that way or that way, it's just nice to have like another option for where you're sitting. What I could have done is, like, because some people sleep in hammocks, don't they? If I'd done that, then I could have just saved so much space. So I haven't gone as minimal as I could have. I'm slowly weaning myself off. I've like got rid of like the shared house, got rid of the warehouse. Maybe like in a couple of years' time, it will just be me and a hammock and like a U-build box in the corner with like 3 things in it. But I'm not there yet. This whole area used to be sort of built for mills. Yeah, well, there's a mill pond here, and then there's also a little waterfall here. But you have the upper mill pond, and then it used to go through our building and then out to the back, and you can still hear it kind of rushing down. The whole of this valley was all to do with textile manufacturing, and it all used to be done from the waterways. And then the Industrial Revolution kind of messed it all up for them. So a lot of these mill buildings became derelict. You couldn't even buy a studio flat in London for the price that we bought this. We were looking for a longer term kind of home for the practice. But a studio flat in London would probably fit into, I don't know, like a 10th or 20th of the space here. When we got it, everything was covered in mouldy old plasterboard. It was kind of falling in. So we've done the bare minimum that we possibly could before we decide what we're going to do with it in the longer term. This is one of the pods. Should we go in this one?
Yeah.
We're kind of demonstrating kind of live-work arrangement here. So no shoes in the pod. We just want the building to be used. We don't want it to just sit around for a couple of years while we imagine what to do with it. So we wanted to be able to show that people can stay in pods like this for really cheap. So basically, this is almost a continuation of a collaboration we did with Low Guardians. They had these warehouse spaces. They had people who needed affordable housing in London. We worked with them to make these little pods which people could sleep in. The idea being that people can have use of the whole space, but then have their own private place to call home. So, you know, obviously this would be a very tiny space to have as your whole living environment, but as a bedroom, it's really quite cozy. So, yeah, so all we've done here is just use the same boxes. So these are the wall boxes, just to make a little bed platform. Again, if we made 2 of them, then it would be a double bed. And if you were looking after this building, you imagine rather than paying a security company to have a big sort of Alsatian walking around, instead of that, you can help like solving the housing crisis by having just anyone who's trying to sort of struggle with the cost of living these days. And also because quite often buildings, you get charged for them being empty. So this is a way of building owners going like, well, let's just give it over to a guardian company. And it's all like everyone wins, you know, the people in it are paying council tax. Like say, we don't want any money for this. We just want the building to be used while we work out what to do with it longer term. So basically, I mean, this is a very sort of rudimentary bed, but you can see here that these are just made out of more of the boxes. This one is actually one of the corner boxes. It's got the holes to connect to the wall. So this one's a 300 wide, this is a 600, and obviously that 900 is like a sort of single bed. So these are all bolted together, and then we've just put them on another one here on its side, just to kind of lift it off the ground a bit.
So everything is U-build boxes. I mean, you can make furniture without using any other, like you don't need legs,
Right.
You don't need something.
Yeah. Like we make the windows, we make the floors, we make the walls. Everything's made out of U-build. It follows the same principles. It's compatible. It has the same bolt grid. You could turn this window round that way. But you know, the fundamental component, the window, can be made in the same way as the rest of the system, because it has bolts at the same intervals. So we've got these same 300mm spacings. Then it can connect into the building, and it can be changed. So we can have this same window facing outwards. This can be on the other side. So we don't have to decide now where we want it. Even the whole unit, we could, because this is the same dimension, 900 by 600, we could put it there. So we can just take this one out, swap it with that one. And so, or we spin it round and then it opens outwards. The same principles happen with the doors here. So we just use Parliament hinges. You can see that it's following the same principles. These are kind of the sort of translucent panels. We wanted to make something which, if we can cut something out on a CNC machine, then why not make all of it? So the U-build construction system is something like if IKEA and LEGO had a baby. So it's these big boxes. They can be assembled with a mallet and a screwdriver. Effectively, you start out with these individual panels which are all cut using precision cutting using a CNC machine. And it's designed with this kind of locking system so that you can basically put the pieces together and it will always be in the right configuration. It all works on a grid system. So these bolts, they kind of are equal sort of centers all the way up. So that's 300 mil apart. The whole box, this is 150 mil. That's 900, that's 600. So everything is a multiple of 150. And that's because sheets of plywood in the UK, they're 8x4. And we can fit 4 boxes, the face panels, perfectly on a sheet. That's why it's done in this way. It's to make the most efficient use of the material.
And it starts with a box, right?
Yes. So these are one of the boxes here. So as I mentioned, these are our kind of like standard boxes. So that's 1200 high, 600 wide, and 150 deep. So when these are filled with insulation, that just about gets to kind of UK building regulations. If you want to go to like passive house levels, we go a double thickness. So we take this to 300 mil. It's a really effective way of making a warm building very quickly. The aim of it really is to make it so that the pieces can be easily put together by anyone, because there's lots of barriers to people getting into construction. The other really important thing is that these whole pieces are designed to be modular, demountable, reusable. So they really suit a building like this, which doesn't yet have a final kind of purpose. You know, we built one pod in half a day. In a very, very short turnaround, you can kind of make a habitable room within a very uninhabitable environment. So because we're inside, we don't need any waterproofing, we don't need membranes or cladding. So we just put this on because it's really, really quick. You can kind of see that we've got these little wooden dowels, and then the panel just comes out like that, and the insulation is behind. So we're trying to think like sort of, you know, like theatre set designers. We're building this building now, but I know that I'm going to be here again taking it down in a year's time, so I want to make my life easy. What we like about it is it's a pure material. It's 100% that material, so it can be reused again and again as this. It's also insulative, it's cheaper, it's more lightweight than glass. For glass to have the same thermal performance, it would need to be double glazing. So we've got the panels here which are on the kind of solid walls, but then also we have some of them where this is actually just the window. So when we came in here, because we've got all this beautiful light from the warehouse above, we had these roof panels on. We were just like, they need to come off. When it comes to winter and it gets really cold, we'll probably make a different version of these ones which have sort of polycarbonate or something or glass in the roof, so we get this light. So this kind of room is set up as a kind of desk, a working space. These are just 2 wall panels from another pod. In order to make it level, I got 2 600 mil high boxes. I put them underneath here so that it was level, screwed them in, and then we've got a desk. And we know that the desk is going to fit perfectly because that's a 900, that's a 1200. So if you took these 2, you could move them here. They're all the same thing. In order to make a 2.1, we use a 1200 and a 900. And you see that there's this pattern here. we call it a vertical brick bond. So, you know, like how you'd see bricks in a wall. And it's actually done for a similar purpose. So basically this box here, because imagine there's bolts which are going through behind here. I think we showed the bolt holes before. So the panel here, the bolts are sort of covering this joint. So that box strengthens these two boxes and this box strengthens those two. So it means that like everything kind of locks together. And we can actually turn this the other way. In fact, we can kind of see here. So basically these two panels are bolted together. They're screwed into the wall and everything kind of locks in. So the reason that there's graffiti, these have been used about 3 or 4 times already. Northern Soul, keep the faith, you know. Like, these were last in Leeds. There were 5 of these pods in Leeds. Lovely company we were working with who were renovating this huge building. They've been used as so many different things. There's been artists in there. There was a radio show broadcast out of one of them. Then when they finished the building, they took them upstairs and they used them as like meeting rooms. Rather than building the pods on the floor, we wanted to elevate them. Now we could have put them on like little blocks or bricks just to create ventilation for the timber, and you know, because ultimately this building is still a bit leaky. You know, there's some water running down the walls in a few places. But rather than put it on blocks, which is, you know, quite permanent, again in the spirit of the modular and sort of adaptable nature, we've actually put them on wheels. But also it means that with one person, like not a particularly strong person, I can like spin the pod. I've just crashed it into the wall. There's 6 dollies. Each one can hold about 200 kilograms. So you can have people in here standing on it. It's almost like a centipede, you know, lots of little feet. If you really wanted to, you could track the light in, you know, throughout the day. You know, so you could be like, oh, I'm facing, well, at the moment we're facing another pod, but if, you know, if this building happened to have a really nice sort of morning view, you could then just sort of like slowly through the day, like have like a sort of heliostatic pod. And then at the end of the day, you know, like talking about the neighbor, you're like, this guy snores, so I'm just gonna, I'm just gonna spin it around this way. Yeah. The other thing, of course, is, you know, you might have a space where, you know, you want to have a party, you know, so you move all your pods to one side, you know, it's like you move the furniture, but you see one of them's come out. But yeah, like, you know, so even though technically that wheel has come out there, but structurally that shouldn't work because those are supposed to be resting on something. But because all of these boxes, like a sort of cellular, it almost acts as like a big beam, you know? So it still holds together.
So it's structural.
Yeah, it's like a square honeycomb. I can hang on that, and you know, takes my weight, even though there should be a wheel in the middle. We're creating human scale things like that can be adapted, moved by people, you know, one person with one hand, just about. But still, we don't want to be using heavy machinery, plant, forklift. Let's use people power, you know. So basically, if we wanted to remove one of these panels, let's say I'm like, there's some wiring behind there. This is really annoying. And that's the other thing. We were trying to make it so that it wasn't just the preserve of people who know what they're doing. So basically, maybe let's start at this side. There you go. So now I'm like, there was, you know, a water leak, or there was something, I need to replace this, or like, hey, I want a window.
Yeah, you
know,
do get more light.
So yeah, like, I don't know if I can actually take it out from this side. The dowel, I could go from the other side. It's, yeah.
So fast.
So yeah, I mean, you know, it shows how you can. I mean, obviously this doesn't have the window part in it yet. We need to undo these bolts and put the window frame in. But you see how you can change your mind. You wanted a window, there's the window.
Because, and it all is just, I mean, there's something so easy about boxes. To me, that doesn't seem scary. I'm like,
Conceptually, right?
yeah, I mean, I would be afraid to say, oh, am I making a building strong enough by just putting up some plywood, stick frame building? Here, the boxes are the support, right?
Basically, the side of one box and the side of the other box, that is the same as a balloon frame, really. This, like the side of this box and the side of that box bolted together, all the way up, like a sort of almost like stitched together a long piece of wood. So we have made a balloon frame, and we're still using the racking board like you would do in balloon frame. The only difference is that rather than having like one big panel, we've got them as small human-sized ones which can then come apart again. So it's like a balloon frame for the 21st century. So I think the real advantage that we have to offer to people is to say that if you buy this is more like buying a kind of really nice piece of furniture. It's going to be with you for a long period of time. What we're imagining is, imagine you got a network of people together who all wanted to like live in a kind of really cheap way. Between them, they could afford to buy some of these pods, and then it could almost be like couch surfing, but you're like warehouse surfing. You take the pod there, and then you do a deal with the landlord and say, hey, we'll look after your building for you, and then at the end of that time, you move on to another one. We've developed UBuild as a bottom-up kind of way of thinking, a grassroots way of thinking. We want to empower individuals, we want to empower community groups through self-build.